But just your general take, and we'll get into the details, but is this a distinctly American phenomenon? And could such a thing as what has been happening in the Pacific Northwest among Christian Reconstructionists, could that sort of thing happen in Northern Ireland or even more generally the United Kingdom?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, Camden, and it's one that we struggled with a lot, Scott and I, as we talked about what we were witnessing as we travelled around, and then as we continue to think about as I was writing this book. It's a difficult question to answer, I think. I think there is something very distinctly American about it. So, there's a lot of narratives in American culture glorifying the West and, frontier life and the simplicity and the authentic American values of life on the edges of civilization. There's a long history of using those kinds of tropes. So I think there is something distinctly American about it. I'm not sure whether we could say there's something uniquely American about it. I think that's a different kind of claim. I think certainly that it would be very difficult for the success of the Moscow, Idaho community to be replicated anywhere else. One of the really striking things about fieldwork, and this is back now in 2015, 2016, talking to New St Andrews graduates or talking to people who are part of the church's community, one of the really striking features of those conversations was their sense that so much of the achievements of that community hung around a tiny handful of individuals. And, I don't talk about this in the book, but in some of those conversations, there was almost a sense of anxiety. So, this community has really quite an extraordinary ambition, and to be fair to this community, it has really made quite extraordinary moves towards realizing large parts of this ambition.
Absolutely.
It wants to make Moscow, Idaho a Christian town, but from that, it really wants to see the social religious reconstruction of North America, and to play a part in, what Bavinck might call a great sweep of victory of Christ's kingdom around the earth. So they have really clear ambitions about what they want to achieve. I suppose, though, the question that haunts a lot of that is the question of whether this can be achieved anywhere else, or whether there is something unique about the, if you like, the ecclesiological or sociological ecology of Moscow, Idaho, that makes this much more plausible or much more efficiently realized in that location than it could be anywhere else. So, you think about what's going on in Moscow. There's two very, very substantial church congregations, the combined membership of which totals around 10% of the town's population. They have a K-12 school, Christian school. They've got a very successful, very high-quality liberal arts college. They've got a music conservatory, and they've got a number of very, very key businesses in the locality. So, what that ecology means is that someone from, I don't know, France, England, the Caribbean can decide to move either with their family or indeed as a student to go to study at New St Andrews College. Very often, as often happens, but certainly seems to be the case fairly regularly with the people we spoke to, they meet a potential marriage partner, they decide to get married, they settle down. Why not? Moscow's a beautiful town. They're surrounded by like-minded people that are friendly workplaces where they can get employment, and all of a sudden it's a virtuous circle of success that can pull people in, that can attract them into something that's very credible, very strong, very clearly articulated, but actually give them the sociological, even economic supports to keep all of this moving forward in a way that's obviously beneficial to the individual, to their family, but to the church community as well. Whether it's beneficial to the wider town environment or to the Moscow Pullman area is obviously something that's contested a lot in the local media. And, for all that people within this community might see this as a really striking example of post-millennial success, we might say, that there are many other people in the community who see this ambition as something that should worry them. And certainly some of the rhetoric that comes out in some of the community's publications is rhetoric that they find very deeply troubling.